Okay, let's go ahead and take care of this icon, favorite icon here. So we need to go back to our weather app because that's where everything is driven. And back to where we have this main screen, one of them at least, where we've added this icon. So what we need to do right before that, inside of this if statement, let's see, right before we add the icon, I'm going to create a variable to check our database to see if the current city that we're showing here, the title, is equal to this to show if the city that we have showing here exists already in our database. So I'm going to put an if statement. Actually, I'm going to say val first. So is already fav list. Very cryptic, but bear with me here. So I'm going to set that to our view model. I think is favorite view model I called, yes. And I'm going to get the fav list state as flow and say collect as state, get the value as such, and then I'm going to filter. This is the beauty of Flutter. This is the beauty of Kotlin because I can't actually filter a list. In this case, I'm going to pass an item like this, so we have a variable to work with. So what is that we're going to do here? Well, to filter, we need to pass some a predicate, right? So I'm going to put all of that inside of parentheses. I'm going to say item, right? This item, you can see it's a favorite object, so I'm checking if item.city is equal to title. I'm going to split again by comma and get the first item in our list. So we've done this before. All I'm doing is I'm looking for this area, this part of our title. So if Seattle, we're saying, okay, we're going to look as we loop through in our collected as state favorite list from our view model, right, which gets all that from database. So we're getting all of the items from our database, all of the cities, and we're checking to see if there's a match. That's all we're doing here. If there is a match, what happens with a filter is that it returns an array or a list. So this is actually going to be a list, right? So what I'm going to do then, once to check if the list is empty, that means there's no match, which means this city here doesn't exist in our database, which means in this case, this is going to show. If the list is not empty, that means there is a match, then that means we need to hide this. That's all we're doing here. So now I can put another if statement, and I'm going to put all of this inside. Let's see, click there. Right, I'm going to cut all of this and put inside of that if statement. So if is already fav list, and you can see, as I said, it comes in as a list whenever we use the predicate, right? So just a confirmation there. If his list is null or empty, then this favorite icon should show. Else, it shouldn't show anything. I'm just going to say, give me a box like this, and we're done. Let's see if this is true. Let's go ahead and run real quick. So at this point, this icon shouldn't show because San Diego is part of the list, I believe. And you can see there's no icon for San Diego, because if you go to favorites, you'll see that San Diego is part of it. Now, if I delete San Diego, if I go back, you're going to see that indeed we will have that icon, which you can save. And then once you save that, notice it went away because it knows right away that the San Diego was added, and database know how to pass that into our mutable state flow, our mutable flow, and responds by hiding it right away. And we go back to our favorites, you can see San Diego. Let's go back. You can see San Diego is added there. All right. Very good. Very good. All right, so next what we want to do, even though everything works fine, we could just stop here and life is great. But we need to give users a little bit of some sort of a visual clues as to what's happening. So when we click, let's add something new here. Say Beira. Okay, Mozambique. If I save, it just goes away, which is okay. I guess it's fine, but it would be nice to have some sort of a toast message to show that, okay, that was added to our database, to our favorites, right? To do that, we're going to create a structure that will allow us to do so, to show when something is saved, to show that something was saved so users know that something was saved. So we're going to use a toast message. So let me, because I'm going to use that, so let's put a block into our else statement there. Okay, so we'll see in a second. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to start from the back, right? So I'm going to say show toast like that, and I'm going to pass a context, which is going to be equal to context, Android context type, and I'm going to also pass a show it, which is going to be, we'll see what that will be. Okay, this is just going to be context. We'll create that. All right, let's go ahead and create this puppy, create a composable. Now this show it is going to be a mutable state, as you will see in a bit. It's going to be a Boolean, and context is going to be context, Android context, like this. Okay. All right. So show toast. What is that? So I'm going to say if show it that value is true, then I'm going to say toast that make text. Let's say toast call it make text and pass in the context, and then I'm going to pass the message, which is just going to be CT added to favorites, something like that. Or just say added to favorites like this. And then I'm going to say toast. Length is going to be short, and make sure that we show that toast. Okay, now because it's all about states and all sort of things, to show other dialogues, to show toasts in Compose, if you are coming from Android development, it's a little bit strange, but not too bad. So that's why we have to pass at least a few other items here, such as this mutable state. So let's create this mutable state at the top here, because we're going to be using it. So I'm going to create val show it. It's a mutable state, so I'm going to just say, I can just go ahead and say by remember. That's a preference, same thing, and say mutable state of, say false in the beginning. All right. And while we're here, we need to get the context. So to get a context, we say context, and I'm going to say local context that get current. All right, so we have that context. So what we want to happen is when we click, just look here, when we click on this button or this icon, we want to run to set our show it to true, so that it's shown, right? The actual icon, or in this case the actual toast, is shown. And where does that happen? Well, that has to be happening right after the item was inserted into our database. So let's go back down here. Okay, I see what the problem is. Okay, let's not use by. I think we just have to use the normal one. It's equal to remember like this, which means I have to say that value is true. We'll just remove that altogether and we should be good. All right, just a little issues there, but that's fine. Okay, so that means then I need to set that whenever this favorite runs or whenever that is done with and we have saved something to our database. Okay. So I'm going to say dot and invoke the run block here and then say show it. That value, set that to true. So we want that to happen right after this favorite is, right after our insert favorite is done. And we want this, of course, to be back to false inside in the else statement. So show it that value now is going to be false here. All right, makes sense? Okay, let's go ahead and see. Let's run. Okay, of course, San Diego is not going to show the icon. Let's find something else. Okay, Las Vegas, click, and add it to favorites. It's showing and should go away pretty soon. If I go to our favorites, we should see Las Vegas. Click, there's Las Vegas. There we go. Okay, so it is indeed working. Let's do Mumbai. Okay, let's save, and voila, add it to favorites. It's very good. And if we go to favorites, you can see that Mumbai is indeed added. All right, it's indeed working. So small things, but nonetheless, it just gives the user something to help them understand, okay, what's going on in terms of the user experience. So I should always think in those terms as well.